Good morning, and it is May 6th, 2012, and we're at the Namaste Center and in Hendersonville, North Carolina, and I want to welcome all of you here today, and of course all of you listening, many of which, my friends from Florida, hi, thank you for listening. I've gotten your feedback, so thank you. And anyway, today I chose a subject which is based on this wonderful movie, sort of, kind of, Thrive. Because I just love that word, you know, it's just such a great word, thrive, you know, it just feels good, it feels empowering, and the movie just brought it more to the forefront. And there's a few things I wanted to address based on the movie, also just based on what thriving is. And I, of course, went right to the little dictionary and going to just share with you what the dictionary says about thriving, and then we'll take her from there. And I think that this definitely, when Bob Stevens was here, as I mentioned a while back, we came up with a phrase for our center, a tagline, and it is, "We are a conscious, thriving community where enlightenment lives." So I just love that, and it really fits right in with what thrive means. So thrive is to grow vigorously, to grow spiritually. I concur with both of those. It means to flourish, expand, and be brought back to life. And to be brought back to life is such a great affirmation, because so often we get caught up, as Connie's song, you know, we get caught up in the gloom and doom of the media and all the things that seem to be happening, when really, when we're brought back to life, those things don't mean anything anymore, because we're beyond that. It also says that we're here to become larger, greater, bigger, expand or gain, and make steady progress, be at a high point or reach a high point in historical significance. Wow. It's also a change of state. So that, to me, just sums up so many great analogies for what we're here to do at the Namaste Center. And we are here to thrive. And I wanted to explore a little bit, you know, how can we bring more thriving into our personal lives and also take that message beyond this room and share it. So a couple of things we had made mention. We showed the movie Thrive. I think I've seen it now 10 times. Oh, wow. 10 times. It's a great movie. And although I have to say I agree with most of it, to be honest with you. It's like, yeah, that makes sense, that concurs, and yeah, I believe that. And as I mentioned in the, as before I tell people to watch it, don't be disturbed by the first hour and a half of it being a little bit of doom and gloom, because it's tiring. It's like, whoa. But the great news is the other side of it is solution oriented and how we can step forth and thrive. And you know, I just love this. Not really, I don't really love this, but I'm going to share it. It says, as soon as I show the movie, I'll be darned if it wasn't that night, there's postings on Facebook that there was a declaration signed by many of the people who participated in the movie saying that they were pulling out, they weren't in support of it. And I thought, well, that is interesting. You know, it's kind of like, here we are, you know, as I wrote down here, here's a bunch of conscious beings coming together to share a great message. You know, and then all of a sudden something happens and the poop hits the fan. You know, it's like everyone's upset and angry and saying that's not what I got into this for or whatever. And I really began to examine and say, well, where do we do that just in our personal lives? You know, everything sort of goes along smooth, and then we have to find something to be angry at or someone to be mad at. And, you know, it just is just a pattern of being, I guess, but it doesn't have to be. I really think that, as I say a lot of times in spiritual community, it's really, we come here looking obviously for support, which we get from each other, and you know, we mutually support and care for each other. That's a wonderful thing. But it also brings up a lot of our stuff, because what are we coming for? We're coming to heal. So if we've got unhealed aspects of ourselves, of course they have to come up. So it's maybe about being a little gentler, not only with each other, but first with ourselves when these things come up. We don't have to come here and put on a facade of being, so spiritual, but rather just saying, here's who I am. I'm choosing to thrive. I'm choosing to evolve. And the muck has to come up. And to be loved and honored through that process is really what it's about. And that's what we're about here, I believe, in this community. And I think that's the purpose of all spiritual communities. And I think that's why these things do come up. They come up because we've asked them to come up for our healing. It's better than just putting that little smile on our face, showing up every week acting like everything's fine and dandy when it's not. Because sometimes we just don't feel good. We get vertigo. We have things happen to us. So it's about really just saying, just something to look at. Well, it'd be nice if we could just move beyond that. And I really think things are accelerating. I think really when you look at the world, the awakening is just so fast, and you're seeing things happen and systems breaking down. And it is happening, folks. I mean, there's no mistake. Don't be fooled if you don't think it's happening, because it is. And I mean, you see these old paradigms of belief that now aren't serving us anymore. You see now in the mainstream, 10 years ago, what used to be taboo to speak about in public is now on Oprah. Thank you, Oprah. And also on other means of mass communication. So things are lightening up and waking up. And I really, really think we are created to be thriving beings. We're not meant to suffer. That is one paradigm I think we have to shake out and let go of. Because, it's just no fun. It's no fun not to feel good. It's no fun not to have enough money. It's no fun to be mad at somebody. It's no fun to place so much judgment on yourself and others. It's not a feel-good thing, but yet we still repeat those patterns. So I wanted to explore a few things of how maybe we can shift that a little bit. So thriving. I moved in to a place in my spiritual path a few years ago about really creating and manifesting, and it works. It really does work. But it's also, is that what we're really looking for? Are we looking for the red Corvette? Or are we looking for the relationship? Or are we looking for the money in the bank? Is that what we really are looking for? Is that what we want? And sure enough, you do your vision boards, you sit there and you focus your attention on it, and you go sit in the car and you smell it, whatever it is. And that's what they say, smell it, feel it, drive it, take that memory home. And sure enough, before you know it, you've manifested the car. Or whatever it is you want, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, that's not exactly what I thought it was going to be. It's not that great. We can manifest these things, but it's not really what we were looking for after all. So it's not to say that these things are wonderful to have, because they're fun, and we deserve those, and if we want them, great. But really what we're seeking is the experience of how those things would make us feel. In other words, it's not really the money that we want, it's that feeling of security and safety. It's not the car we want, but just that feeling that we think we're going to have when we have the car. So it goes back to just a real simple teaching is seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and everything else will fall upon us. But if we don't have that foundation, if we're not seeking that first, if we're not going to God's will versus my will, then all of these things I gather and manifest and accrue are really meaningless. They may be temporary, fun and enjoyable, and bring us a little bit of comfort and security temporarily, but it's really not what we're seeking. What we're seeking is something so far greater than anything that these things that we manifest can offer us. So I always just go right back. Two things that I think are the simplest things we can do in our spiritual path. Number one, seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all else will be bestowed upon us. Number one, how simple is that? The Course in Miracles, which I teach every week, it's got a lot of heavy-duty teachings in it. And people get perplexed and they get so caught up in the verbiage and the languaging and the intensity of it, when really if you just step back and go to the simplicity of it, it is every moment we're a choice, and we can choose the Holy Spirit, which is the voice of God or the voice of love within us, to be my guide, or I can choose the ego. I'm at free will to choose which voice I listen to. If I'm not at peace, then I must be aligning my thought and intention with the ego. And the Course says all we have to do is choose again. We don't have to analyze, we don't have to judge, we don't have to beat ourselves up. We just have to recognize this is not how I choose to feel. This is not where I choose to go, and choose again. And that is the miracle, really, making that choice for love over fear. Shift in perception. Our perception through the eyes of judgment, and that judgment really comes from our program, that perception is something that can be shifted in an instant. Yet we cling so much to those things that really don't bring us any joy whatsoever. Well, if you haven't noticed, sometimes the universe tries really, really hard to get our attention. It can be through my experience years ago, and I'm so grateful now for my better health experiences. But years ago, the universe I was going one way, and it was just, everything I was doing was just so externally motivated that I really was so out of balance internally. So I was manifesting. I had to take 6 trips to the hospital in 6 years, and 5 surgeries. So that was not a really fun experience. But really, the universe is saying, okay, Shar, you didn't get it this time. Try again. Didn't get it this time. Try again. Didn't get it this time. And I really recognize that now, when I look back, man, I really didn't have to go through that. I've got a big scar on my knee from 3 surgeries that I really didn't have to go through, but I chose to at some level because I needed to pay attention to something. And the universe has given us many, many signs every minute. I mean, it really is. We just ignore them. You know, it's kind of like, and I know someone listening here thinks I'm picking on it, and I'm really not. It's just, but to me, it's just, I have to giggle. I have compassion, but I say, God, I know that experience. I have been there. And really, I've been assessing things because in my own life, I think really every day we need to assess and evaluate, really, you know, as they say in the 12 steps, take a fearless moral inventory of yourself. Because so often we don't even pay attention to anything. We just go. And we're not conscious, you know? And it's not to beat ourselves up and say, God, I must be really unconscious if I'm attracting this into my life. But rather say, oops, maybe I can just chart a different course here. Choose again, make some better decisions. And maybe we're in the 80s and 90s and all of this masterminding and manifestation served a purpose, and it served a good purpose. I really feel like now what's happening and the energy on the planet and where we're all moving towards is a much quieter, more peaceful existence, really one where we, are mindful, we're conscious of every decision that we make, rather than just being so externally bound. We had our ministerial class yesterday, and we got into a conversation about service and what is our role in actually serving the community at large. Well, some people, they just go and, I'm here to serve, and then God's going to really love me, and I'm doing God's work. Well, in the meantime, I've been there, done that too. And I was like a dog with my tongue hanging out the side of my mouth. I would just serve. And it was, I'd show up here on Wednesday, here on Saturday, here on Sunday, and I'd be doing this and that and thinking I was doing good work. And I was. And I think maybe some of you all can relate to this. I want to volunteer and make a difference. But really, at the end of the day, I really had to look at that too. In the beginning, had I paid attention, there were a couple of wiser, more spiritually evolved people than myself who said, now why are you doing this, Charlotte? What really is your motivation in feeling that need to serve so much? I said, because these people need help. And they're like, and I didn't get it at the time. And of course my ego said, well, you schmuck, you should be out here helping me. And that was like, why are you even asking that? It's obvious these people are hungry and they need this and they need that, of course. But what happened was, it's not to say that I'm not in a state of choosing to serve, because I really do believe in that is our role, is to be of service and share with each other. But on the other hand, check your motivation first, because what happens is the more my mind becomes healed, the more at peace that I become, I see the world different. I really am seeing now that people's karma plays such a big role in their experience. And it's my judgment that thinks I need to go in there and fix and change anybody. We really have to honor people and allow them to go through their experiences in their body and their lives. Now, does that mean we don't pitch in and help out, or even take on a great mission like Mother Teresa? Maybe, maybe not. But it's always about checking into what's my real motivation. Is this for me to not really look at my own unhealed self and just project it onto other people? Or is this a genuine choice to join in and commune with a brother and sister? So it's always those little, motivations, those little questions that we have in our mind, how do I see the world in every moment, is really my decision to make, making this action, determining this chart of course on fear and need to fix and change, or on true communion and joining. The Course in Miracles would say pretty much that what we need to do, some people are led to live lives of service, and that is their purpose, their function, and it comes from a very holy place. But when we do this, we say to ask ourselves, okay, how can I be of service? Show me where to go, what to do, what to say, and to whom. And really take action from that place. Some of us may just decide to do meditation and prayer for somebody. Sometimes it's a matter of, if you see a homeless person, giving them a few dollars. That may be it. It may even be, and I know I've had friends in the past get mad at me, but that place of joining is sometimes it's buying a pack of cigarettes for someone at the nursing home, because that's what they want. I mean, and that's like the greatest expression of love I could have given them. I could have brought them a piece of chocolate pie and they would have said thank you, but boy, the cigarettes, talk about a light up on their face. It was like, that's what, really. So it's, it's, and it's funny, but it's not. If we're really tuned in, and I always go back to my friend Ma, who's recently deceased. She used to take cartons of cigarettes to the nursing homes because that's what those people wanted. She met them where they were. She didn't project their needs and say, I'm going to take you green smoothies and here because I think you need this. It's like my heart, this is what I know you want. Really, think about it. And, so it's often case, our ego wants to fix everything. And we just leave the heart equation out of the equation, So all of these things, I really see, we're all just learning, we're growing, we're healing, and all of these things that we do with good intentions sometimes may not be the highest and best for anybody. So what this all boils down to in thriving is non-judgment. And as I heal myself, the Course in Miracles also says those who see themselves as healed make no demands. The more healed I am in my own consciousness, the more at peace I am in my heart, I see a beautiful world. The world is much more beautiful to me now than it was a few years ago, even a few months ago, because I'm coming from a different place. And as I evolve and as I even peel away more layers, I know that I'm going to experience and see an even more beautiful world. So that service thing is something I really, do encourage you to maybe consider taking a look at. As I was reading, does anyone in here get the Abraham Hicks quotes of the day on the online? Well, sure enough, today, of course, There is no state of physical decline or damage that you could not recover from. None, not any, if you knew it, if you wanted it, and you knew you could. And that's those miracles they talk about every day. They're not miracles at all. They're just the natural order of things. But because they're rare, people think they're miraculous. They're not. That's the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to thrive. And I said, oh, thank you for putting that word in there. So, thrive. But really, the Course in Miracles also expresses that miracles occur naturally as expressions of love. If we don't experience miracles, then something's gone wrong. And what's gone wrong is right here. It's my judgment that has really just put that big veil between me, or that shield of darkness, as the Course talks about, between me and the miracle. If we're our natural state, since we were created in love as extensions of God's perfection, that we're not supposed to suffer, we're not supposed to be sick. We really are here to thrive and always. But it's up to us. We're the only ones who can do that for ourselves. But since we're all one, then maybe we'll be compelled or led to serve another. But the greatest gift that we can give to anybody is our own personal thriving. And then through that is, instead of focusing on your sins or your limitation, just focus on your abundance. Because we always got to remember, and this is a truth either we hold true or we don't, that everything out here is a projection of my consciousness. And first cause of everything is consciousness. So if I'm not seeing myself or the world in a healed and blessed way, go back to the projector, not out here. You know, we're always out here trying to fix and manipulate and change. Seek first, change the projector, then my actions will be coming from that place rather than my own sickness or my own neuroses of needing to fix and change everything. So it boils down to one thing that the Course talks about, and I just love it. It says that we're in a dream, believing that we're separate from God. Now it says, in truth, we never left God. We never separated from our source. But we're living out this dream, imagining that we have. And in this dream, we've created a lot of fear. We continually perpetuate fear with our thoughts and our judgments, and war and lack and poverty and sickness and so on and so on. But the Course says we do have a chance, we do have a choice actually, to create a happy dream. And I love what the Course talks about, the happy dream. It talks about, let me just find her here. It says the happy dream is, says number one, they do come true because they're dreams. Happy dreams come true not because they are dreams, but because they are happy. And so they must be loving. Their message is, thy will be done, and not, I want it otherwise. That's where the unhappy dream comes from. Instead of thy will be done, it's like, I want this to be otherwise. I want this to be different, and then I'll be happy. But we're just so busy trying to run the show that thy will be done is so far away from our even imagining that we can't even bring it into this moment. But we do have a choice to do that. The alignment of means and purpose is an undertaking impossible for you to understand. You don't even realize you have accepted the Holy Spirit's purpose as your own, and you would merely bring an unholy means to its accomplishment. Little faith is needed to change the purpose, and that is all is required, to receive those means and use them. So it just takes a little willingness, just that little bit of willingness to say thy will be done instead of I want it to be otherwise. Does that sound familiar? Can that be maybe where we do get caught up in our pain and suffering? Because we think we know what we want. And as I mentioned earlier, we think we want this or we think we want that, but really what we're seeking is that experience of connection. Course in Miracles goes on to say one more thing, and it says there's only really one problem we need to correct, and that problem is the belief that it's possible to be separate from Source. That's it. I mean, if you want to make it really simple, just plug back into source. And then it's as if we're just lifted by angels. It of course talks about effortless accomplishment. Life just begins to flow because we're not putting all those blocks and barriers up of judgment and needing it to be different. We're just saying, okay, I surrender. And sometimes it takes the kick in the gut before it gets our attention. And how many times do we have to put ourselves in the hospital, or how many times do we have to walk into the same relationship over and over and over? Or every time you try a job, you go to a job, oh, I had to leave there, I was fired because there are a bunch of jerks there. And it's so funny, there's jerks show up at every job that person seems to have. How does that happen? And so, you know, it's really, I'm responsible for the world I see. You know, it's amazing, you know, but yet we would rather blame others for all of our problems. And I think to thrive, if we really want to thrive and be happy, it's time for us to take 100% responsibility for everything in our life. It's all or nothing. I cannot be a victim of anything in this world, because if I choose to see myself or someone else as a victim, then I'm believing that I don't have any power to change it. And if I don't believe I have power to change it, then life really sucks, you know? It's just like, well, why bother? I mean, then this all becomes meaningless. So we really have to say, I'm willing to accept responsibility. Do I have faith and belief that God's will for me is good? Do I have enough willingness to put my trust and place the future in the hands of God? Or am I going to say, well, I'll give you this much, but I still want to control this? And it's up to us to say 100% or nothing, period. And when we do that, you see people who are able to just completely surrender in that extreme form. I mean, they're able to just say, I surrender everything, and I'm willing to be guided and led. I always refer to Mother Teresa so often because I just think she embodied, you know, in this past century, God in form. I mean, she was a Christ. You know, she just literally, she didn't need her conditions to be different than, you know, obviously to live in the slums of Calcutta. She was not seeking the Ritz-Carlton and say, okay, I'm going to can you see Mother Teresa? Okay, I got my vision board, and I want the red Lamborghini and the hot guy, yeah, and I'm going to just pray and I'm going to manifest it, and, you know, I mean, you know, it was just, for her, it really was about seeing the face of Christ in everyone. And it goes back to the story when she says, you know, when people said, how can you be in the midst of that poverty? She said, what poverty? I'm with, you know, I see only love. And you've reminded me of your experience, Ken and Lloyd, that, you know, Mother Teresa just saw the face of Jesus in everyone. And that's really possible. She's just showing to us what is possible. Now, do you think Mother Teresa, her level of peace and joy and contentment was less than complete? That she didn't have any of the stuff. How could she have been happy? You know, it's like, what's it gonna take for us to get it? And it doesn't mean we all have to go to Calcutta. I don't think that's the case at all. That was her calling and her purpose. But it really does reflect that when we choose to be in that state of consciousness, when we choose to totally surrender and let go, that we can thrive. And as we move into this time of change, you know, our world is really intensifying in its pace and awakening. That, you know, we're trying to hold on. As I've mentioned before, I love the bumper sticker that one of our gals from the ministerial classes last time had, let go or be dragged. You know, do you want to be dragged, or are you willing to just surrender and say, okay, I got it. And, you know, it goes down to thy will be done. So, you know, it really does, and I hope that she's listening, because she placed this on Facebook this morning, and it was a great little quote that she had made up. And so anyway, it says, what keeps us from thriving? And she says she's advocating the end of the blame game. No one can hurt you, make you sad, or make you happy. But we do get to choose our reactions in every situation. So, it's really, and thank you, Cynthia, if you're listening, for that wonderful quote. It's simple, but it's so powerful. Are we really willing to let go of that need to blame? Now I have to say that all my problems in my life are my own and my own creation. But the great news is that I've got the tools now to rise above those and choose another way. There's got to be a better way to see this, and I'm determined to find it, is really how the whole Course in Miracles came into being. So as I mentioned earlier, just begin to maybe pay attention to areas of our life where we may feel less than thriving. Maybe it's a physical manifestation. Maybe it's a financial feeling of lack. Maybe it's a relationship issue. And just ask yourself, okay, why am I experiencing this? And then be willing to say, okay, thy will be done. I surrender. And just see what happens. See the miracles that can unfold from that. Rather than saying, oh my gosh, I'm sick. Tell the story. Call this person. Call that person. Oh, I don't have any money. Oh, my dad didn't give me money when I was a kid, and now I've got that whole imprint into my consciousness, and now I'm just broke for life. I have no chance. Whatever it is, the story that we tell ourselves, we got to be willing to let it go. And this Bible, I don't know if anyone else has seen this, but it's actually Robert Schuller. He sold these years ago. It was a little fundraising thing, and it's a great little Bible. He calls it the Possibility Thinker's Bible. And what he did was throughout this entire Bible, he highlighted all the possibility teachings and all the positive teachings. And there's a lot, it's not all about gloom and doom. It's really, there's so many great teachings here that have been disregarded or not paid attention to because we're so busy focusing on Amendment 1, making sure that everyone's saved from whatever. And but that's a whole other story. But anyway, that's also free will too for people to make that choice. But all I can say about that, and I really don't have a judgment. I certainly have a strong opinion, obviously. But all I could say is, what would Jesus do in the polls on that vote, on that amendment? If you'd really look at the teachings of Christ, or when you think of God, I only think of love. I don't see God as vengeful. I don't see God exempting any of us. And I certainly don't blame those for her choosing to vote yes on Amendment 1, because their program is so rooted in so much fear that you can't blame that person for that. But really, the most healing thing we can do is vote our conscience, number one, but also be willing to bless those who maybe still be in fear and choose to keep separate, because that's what we're doing. And I want to make sure that here as a spiritual community that we don't see ourselves as separate from anyone, even if their beliefs are so at the complete end of the spectrum. Where the Course in Miracles also says a universal theology is impossible, but a universal experience is not only possible but necessary. So we're seeking that universal experience, which is love. And some people find it in different ways than we do. But if this resonates with you, and I do know most of you, and I know most of you pretty well, that we are heart-centered beings, and we do choose to see that face of Christ in everybody. We choose to include everybody, even those that might not think like we do. Though I think the most harmful thing we can do is to judge those who may not think the way we do, and say that's wrong, that's not loving, but rather just to have compassion. Again, Mother Teresa, during the Vietnam War, Mother Teresa, please march in our protest against the war. I won't march against anything, she said, but when you have a march for peace, count me in. So I think that's really, be for love, be for joining, even if it seems completely backwards from what we may feel in our hearts. So Robert Schuller, in the beginning of, just scattered throughout this book, I should say, he just wrote little dialogues here, little essays. And this right here, he says, God's dream is yours. And then he says, what is the purpose of life anyway? Only to eat, drink, work, or play? Or do you have a brain designed to dream dreams? The Apostle Paul wrote, be renewed in the spirit of your mind. There's just what we're talking about today. Be renewed in the spirit of your mind. Is your mind created to be an architect drawing plans? Can you imagine beautiful accomplishments? Think of this. The human being is the only creature in the universe that has capacity for exercising creative imagination. This divine quality of dreaming, what you want to be, where you want to go, what you love to do, projects your hope to achieve goals you'd like to reach. All of this makes you human and the most unique creature of all creation. You are made in the image of the Creator God. So you are fulfilling your destiny as a child of God in human flesh when you start dreaming beautiful dreams of God Himself, inspiring your mind. A radio is designed to pick up the sounds that are in this room now. A television is engineered to pick up the moving pictures that are in the airwaves around you now. Your mind was invented and created by God to pick up the messages and mental pictures He is sending your way. This is exciting. Faith is dreaming God's dreams. So it's about changing the channel, tune into God's channel, just let it all in. Let's thrive, baby, because it's all good. Namaste. Yeah. Woo! Okay. So, yeah, thrive. Isn't that a good word? So, the basket. So, Connie, are you going to serenade us, or?
I can do that.
We'll bless our offering first.
Okay. I'll put one at each end.
Okay. So let's just bless our offering and give thanks to all of our possibility and prosperity